If people want to support MFA, one of the things that you can do to support MFA is just go to our website. It's memphisfreethought.com and sign up as a member. It's $25 per year. And what that does is it helps us to maintain a presence on the web. We have Meetup and some other expenses that we have to pay for. It's an entirely volunteer organization, so all your money is going towards operations. And the other thing, right now with the COVID, we've been doing a lot of Zoom, so our costs are down, quite a bit because we don't have to fly speakers in. But it still costs money for some of our web presence. So yeah, please become a member. It's $25. Memphisfreethought.com is what you can do, where you can go to sign up. So the title of the talk today is The Secular Value of Civil Engagement. And the speaker is Dr. Ron Millar. Okay. Atheists and humanists and other nonprofit organizations with certain restrictions can and must be engaged in the political and electoral process. Ron will explore the activities that are allowable and encourage our members to become even more active in this arena. Being engaged members of our community will diminish the bias against our community and increase our political clout, which is very much what we need. So a little bio to talk about some of the things that Ron has done. Ron Millar is a political and PAC coordinator at the Center for Freethought Equality. He researches and interviews political candidates and elected officials for possible endorsement by the Freethought Equality Fund, whose goal is to increase the number of open atheists, agnostics, and freethinkers in the public office. Ron has spent more than 30 years in the Washington, D.C. area working for nonprofit education and advocacy groups, including serving as the Associate Director of the Secular Coalition for America from 2005 to 2009. Earning a Ph.D. from Virginia Tech, his dissertation explored organizational learning among groups litigating church-state cases before the Supreme Court. So with that said, Dr. Millar can take it over, and I'm gonna actually shut off my video. It's all you.
All right, thank you very much, Jason, and for the Memphis Freethought Alliance. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about the work for the Center for Freethought Equality and about how to engage atheists and humanists in our nonprofit groups in electoral politics. So what I'll give is a 20-minute talk, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. Again, I'm Ron Millar. I'm the political and PAC coordinator for the Center for Freethought Equality, and that's the advocacy and political arm of the American Humanist Association. So what does it mean to be the advocacy and political arm of the American Humanist Association? As a nonprofit, AHA has some limitations in what it can do in the political and electoral arenas, which I'll be discussing in more detail. To remove these limitations, the Center for Freethought Equality was formed in 2004. CFE is a different type of nonprofit, which is allowed to lobby elected officials as its primary mission. Rachel Deitch, who I hope you know, is our excellent lobbyist up on Capitol Hill. And the Center for Freethought Equality, unlike other nonprofits, can have a membership political action committee. And our PAC is the Freethought Equality Fund, so we can endorse and provide financial support to political candidates. As a membership PAC, only members of the Center for Freethought Equality can be informed about the activities of our political action committee. And it's a federal PAC, and it was formed in 2013. So membership in the Center for Freethought Equality is free. I urge you to join so you can be kept up to date with all our activities. Now, these three organizations provide the tools necessary to increase our community's political clout. It's education with the American Humanist Association, advocacy with the Center for Freethought Equality, and elections with our political action committee. We do this work to diminish the bias against the atheist and humanist community, advance evidence-based public policy, preserve the secular nature of our government, and promote social justice. This afternoon, I want to give you some information about the political advances made possible by the Center for Freethought Equality, and then what you can do as an individual and as a member of a non-theist nonprofit in the electoral and political arenas. As I said earlier, there are limitations on what nonprofits can do during elections, but those restrictions should not prevent your group from taking allowable actions. With certain restrictions, nonprofits can and should be engaged in the political and electoral process. Now, the key restriction is that nonprofits cannot make or even appear to make endorsements of political candidates for elected office. So tonight, we're not going to be talking about any individual candidates or even political parties. So, please refrain from doing that in the chat and during the question and answer too, because, the Memphis Freethought Alliance does not endorse candidates. And, we don't want to make the appearance that we do. So now you might not be very familiar with the Center for Freethought Equality, but you might know about some of the accomplishments we've had. And we have 4 major successes over the past couple of years, and I'll briefly review them this afternoon. Because of our efforts, the taboo about atheists and humanists running for and holding elected office is now known to be defunct. Congressman Jared Huffman from California announced he's a humanist and agnostic. The Congressional Freethought Caucus was created in Congress, and we've had a 900% increase in the number of state legislators who identify with the atheist and humanist community since 2016. So first, I'll talk about the Atheist Taboo. In 2017, I was talking to a candidate running for the state legislature in a very red West Texas district. And he told me he couldn't possibly be public about being an atheist because he lost 2/3 of his potential voters just by his party affiliation. And even more because he was pro-choice and LGBTQ friendly. He said he couldn't afford to lose more votes, by being open about being an atheist. And I thought with all those qualifiers and conditions, who was he afraid that was left to lose for him? So as a good non-theist, I wanted data on the subject. So the Center for Freethought Equality purchased some space on an election day poll in 2018. And we had the survey company create questions to provide an answer. The results found that voters who favored Democratic candidates and were pro-choice and pro-marriage equality would overwhelmingly vote for an atheist candidate. 72% of the respondents said that being an atheist would make absolutely no difference in their vote. And then an additional 10% said that they would be more likely to vote for the atheist candidate. So now there's still a pool of people who would be less likely to vote for the non-theist candidate. So a bias still exists out there, and we still have a lot of work to do, but the taboo is gone. So there's no reason not to run for public office. Case in point, we were instrumental in having Congressman Jared Huffman. He's in the California 2nd District. He announced that he's a humanist and agnostic. He's the only public non-theist member of Congress. This came about because in 2017, he returned a candidate questionnaire to our PAC, and it had an intriguing response on how he identified with regard to religion. So once I got that questionnaire, I followed up with an email to introduce ourselves and explore the topic. And the multiple email messages culminated in a dinner invitation with the congressman and also with Roy Speckhart, who's the executive director of the American Humanist Association, and myself. So at dinner, we discussed the goals of the atheist and humanist movement and the need for elected officials to publicly identify with our community to help dispel the bias against us. After he checked with family, constituents, friends, and colleagues, he did decide to be public about being an atheist and humanist. We did a little press release and got him some attention. And after his public announcement, Huffman received a good deal of positive feedback from his constituents and colleagues. So it was really a non-issue for him. In fact, he received such positive feedback from his colleagues that he decided to form a caucus in Congress. And this was one of the ideas we discussed at our earlier dinner together. Huffman arranged an organizing meeting at his townhouse, and Roy and I met with several of the members of Congress to form a caucus. And then after another meeting, which was held at the American Humanist Association headquarters, the necessary paperwork was prepared and the Congressional Freethought Caucus was born. Now, this caucus is a membership group within Congress, and its goal is to foster science and evidence-based public policy. And it also provides a forum for members of Congress to learn about the atheist and humanist movement. So it's a small caucus. I think it started out with 4 members. We now have 13, but it's going to keep growing and keep pushing for the values that we have for our movement. So our last major accomplishment is that we've identified over 50 state legislators who are members of the atheist and humanist community, and most importantly, are willing to be public about it. This is up from just 5 prior to the 2016 elections. So we boast it was a 900% increase. However, the sad fact is we need another 1,500 or so to reach parity with our population. So we still have a tremendous amount of work to do. So that's what the Center for Freethought Equality has accomplished, and I urge you to join. Membership is absolutely free, and as a member, you'll learn about what our PAC is doing for this election and future elections. So now I'd like to explore what you as an individual, in addition to joining the Center for Freethought Equality, can do to advance the interests of our community in the electoral arena. First, you have to participate by voting, not only in presidential elections, but in every election. You need to cast informed votes by researching candidates, not just at the top of the ticket, but for every contest on the ballot. The League of Women Voters Vote 411 website, which I've put in the chat, is a great place to start your research. And then you can go on to the various issue advocacy groups that you support and to see who they're endorsing or review the voter guides they produce. Or if you want to go the opposite way, you can look at the voter guides and endorsement from organizations that are diametrically opposed to your policy values and make your decisions that way too. However, before you can vote, you got to be registered to vote and make sure you're still registered to vote in case you've moved or you've not voted recently. So there's a group called Secular America Votes. It was formed by the Secular Coalition for America and is now run by the Secular Student Alliance. And their website provides easy links to both of these things. But in Tennessee, we're past the voter registration date of October 5th. So I hope you all registered before that and are good to go for this election. So once you're registered, then you actually have to cast your vote. Just thinking about it doesn't do the job. So you need to, especially in this election year, you need to make a plan to vote. With the pandemic potentially limiting polling sites and voter suppression tactics, including the post office slowdown, a voting plan is more important than ever. So the first step in making a plan is to know the rules on voting, and every state has different rules, and even within counties, sometimes there's different rules. So NBC News and a lot of other groups have excellent sites out there, but NBC has a site called Plan Your Vote, and I also put that into the chat. This lists the rules in each state for voter registration, absentee voting, early voting, and more. So once you know the rules, you can determine what is the best way for you to make sure your vote is cast and counted. If you're concerned about going to the polls because of the pandemic and potential long lines, learn what the rules are about early voting and absentee voting. If you decide to vote absentee, now's the time to get that because we're only 10 days out. So, you got to get that absentee ballot in and out the door and back in their offices before the deadlines. So don't procrastinate. If you have early voting in your state, please take advantage of that. So you got to make sure that your ballot is returned in the necessary time and manner to be counted, and make sure you've done everything proper to get your vote cast and counted. If you want to vote in person at the polls, make sure you know where your polling place is and make a plan to schedule the time necessary to make sure you're able to cast your vote. So generally, the good rule is to anticipate long lines so that you're not discouraged when you see the actual ones, and then stay committed to getting inside the polling place and casting your vote. The rule is that if you're in line, by the time the polling place closes, they've got to let you in to vote no matter how long it takes to get inside. So stay in line. Now, to get the results you want, you also need to invest your time and money in candidates because voting is sort of the last step of getting the election results that you want. So think about how important it is that your candidates win and make a plan to invest your time and money accordingly. Make a budget for both how much money you're willing to donate and how many hours you can volunteer, then invest wisely in both. You can volunteer for individual candidates or for the political party of your choice. Volunteering is possible even during a pandemic. You can do no contact literature drops and get a nice walk-in for the day too. From your home, you can do things like addressing postcards and phone banking. You can use your smartphone to connect with a candidate's phone banking operation or even texting operations, and then they connect you with potential voters. You can also phone bank for candidates across the country, not just in your home state. And so, the only thing you really have to watch there is make sure what time zone you're calling, because the key is to convince people to vote for your candidate and not anger them by calling too early or late in the day. And there are very few positive things about the pandemic, but the one positive is that people are generally home and many are eager to talk to someone new. So phone banking is not a scary operation. I also encourage you to attend online and, when safe, in-person campaign events. Wear t-shirts, buttons, or pins, like I'm doing with my little lapel pin here, to identify you with the atheist and humanist community. This is a great way to increase our visibility as a community. And if you invite friends and go as a group, it's even more effective. They might even think we're a movement, and that's our goal, is to become a voting bloc and a movement. So, when possible, in a public forum, ask questions of the candidate that are important to your community and identify yourself as an atheist, humanist, agnostic, or whatever identifier you use. Again, this is all about increasing visibility for our community and to normalizing us within the electoral process and as a constituency. So use the candidate research you've done to make sure your like-minded friends and relatives are registered, have a plan to vote, and are informed about the candidates. This is the most important voting contacts you can make, because they know you, respect you, and peer pressure is a great thing. So if they need help in voting, make sure you get them the resources they need. Use your personal contacts and social media to make these important connections, and turn out more voters for your preferred candidate. So to sum up, as an individual, make a plan to vote, inform and motivate your personal network, create a budget of your time and money to invest in candidates, and then implement these plans so that your vote is counted and your candidate gets the support they need to win. Now I want to move on and talk a little bit about what nonprofits can do. And the best resource about what nonprofit groups can do in elections and the political arena is a group called Boulder Advocacy. It's BOLDER Advocacy. This is a project of the Alliance for Justice, which is a great group based in DC. Now, the Boulder Advocacy, they provide really great detailed information about what you can and can't do in elections. And they also have an Ask an Expert section where you can email or call up someone who can help you through the gray areas of election law. And the best part of this, it's all free because they really want people to participate, want nonprofit groups to participate as far as they can. So your local group can do more than you may think, but again, your group needs to make a plan and consider the time and money it can invest in these tasks. So I was really pleased when I went through your Facebook page prior to this meeting that you had posts about registering to vote with the deadlines and urging people to vote. So this is tremendously important because we don't teach civics anymore, and your organization can step up and provide information. And again, also the links that I show in the chat with Boulder Advocacy, Secular America Votes, Plan Your Vote, those are all nonpartisan. So it's perfectly fine to share those with your membership. So for this election, we really have to work hard to make sure that our community turns out in numbers higher than ever before. And what's great is your group has the names and contact information to make that happen. So reach out to your members. We only got 10 days left before this election cycle closes. And so, again, peer pressure, reach out to folks, get them, make sure they get to the polls, make sure they get their vote cast and counted. So even though a lot of the things I'm going to talk about from here on out are a little late to do 10 days before the election, but it's something that you can start thinking about what your organization can do in future elections. So, and there is quite a bit to do. One is you can conduct nonpartisan voter registration and get out the vote drives. Secular America Votes is a great resource for this. They provide information about how you can do voter registration drives. And again, please take advantage of their resources. Early in an election campaign, your group can send information packets to all the candidates about the issues that are important to your organization. Again, this is nonpartisan, but what it does is help build the visibility of your community and promotes the issues that are important to us. So again, visibility and making people know what our values are as a community are incredibly important. And so reaching out to candidates is a great way to do that. You can also take that a step further and create nonpartisan candidate questionnaires and voter guides. Now, there are many rules to follow to make sure you're doing this correctly. So again, lean on Boulder Advocacy's resources to make sure you're doing it right. But again, it's a great way to reach out to candidates, get education to your members and our community. In addition, your group can create legislative scorecards for incumbents. This is like the questionnaires. They have to be done impartially and without any coordination with the elected officials. And you want to include a broad range of topics. But again, it's increasing visibility. You can do this for state legislators. You could do it for city councils, school boards. It doesn't have to be a congressional thing. We at the Center for Freethought Equality have a congressional scorecard that we put out for every term. So again, it's a great way to educate your members and educate elected officials and the community about your organization. Now, my favorite thing that I would love organizations to do is to sponsor or co-sponsor candidate debates. Again, it has to be done impartially. You got to invite all the candidates to participate. If you're involved with any interfaith or social justice alliances, you could work with them to co-sponsor these candidate debates and, make this a project, a regular part of their programmatic work. And again, if you're pushing various issues, the people you want to convince are these elected officials. So co-sponsoring a debate is a great way to get our values and issues in their attention span. And the last thing I want to talk about is, your civil engagement doesn't end on election day. After the election, please continue to be civically involved. Invite elected officials to talk to your group. Again, could be school board members, city council members, state legislators. Again, the goal is to increase your visibility and promote the issues that are important to us. You can ask former candidates to talk to your members about their campaigns. This will build relationships and perhaps encourage some of your members to run for office. We've been endorsing candidates back to 2014. We've got some folks that we've endorsed in Tennessee. It's another way to bring these folks into your organization too. So we got the list of candidates from our PAC that you could reach out to. And then we've got over 70 elected officials who identify with our community, who really want and need to be better connected with our community. So we got this pool of people. Please reach out to them and invite them to speak to your group. So I really appreciate your participation in this meeting. As members of our community become more politically engaged and organized, we will empower our movement and increase our political clout. Our active political engagement will help to promote evidence-based public policy to effectively address the issues that confront us, like climate change and the pandemic. Our active engagement will also increase the visibility of the atheist and humanist community and help diminish the lingering bias against us. And our active engagement will help build a society that we're proud to live in, but we need all of our members to be engaged to be able to do this. We're at 25 or 20% of the population now, if you consider the religiously unaffiliated. If we can grow that block into a more cohesive political block, we really can change the country. And based on where we are now, we need to help change the country. So if that's not enough of a reason to become politically engaged, just consider that your active participation in the political process will help counter the white Christian nationalists that are far too powerful in our political culture and help bring their bigoted, anti-science, racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, and homophobic crusade to an end. So this is my motivation. It's what gets me into work every day, because we've got to get these people out of office. So with that, I urge you again to become a member of the Center for Freethought Equality. Membership is still free, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
So if people have questions, if you don't want to turn your mic on and ask the question, you can type the message in the chat section and I'll read it. And then people can answer it. Dr. Millar can answer it. So any questions? So I'll start off with a quick question. Is there a number of issues that are going on with voter suppression that we should know about in our particular state, or that you're aware of, or in general?
I'm not familiar with Tennessee. There's been the whole issue with, taking out the mass sorting machines from various post offices across the country. So that's a concern. Folks getting taken off the rolls inappropriately and then having to re-register. So they're and we don't know what's going to actually happen on election day if the various Proud Boys and folks actually want to show up and be election monitors to intimidate people. That's all something that has yet to be seen. But the key thing is just to anticipate that there might be problems. Double check your registration, and if you can vote early, vote early. If not, prepare to take the time to vote in person on November 3rd.
All right. Anyone else had a? Let's see. Someone wrote a question, but it's similar to one that I just asked. Other questions? So I just have a quick kind of personal question. How optimistic are you about us producing all this change? Because it does seem like there's been quite a bit of opposition, with the Christian nationalists. I know Christianity is a very broad group of people with many different viewpoints, but I mean, especially within certain political parties, the political move, the religious movement has gotten real strong, and they seem like they're pretty organized. How optimistic are you about our taking back America to more secular values?
Well, I mean, like I said before, the demographics are with us. We've seen the rise of white Christian nationalism since the late 70s. And it is true, they are incredibly well organized, incredibly well funded, and they are a really small part of the population. I mean, if you just throw all evangelicals together, they're only 25%, but not all evangelicals are part of this white Christian nationalist insanity that we have. And so because they're so well organized, they have a really outsized influence on our electoral system and in our politics. And so it really is incumbent upon us to organize now. We can't wait till the demographics just overwhelm them, because the clock is ticking on climate change, and we've got to act now. That is what drives the sense of urgency, that if we don't organize now, we will hit that wall. And we've got to get people in there who accept climate change, working for social justice, protecting reproductive rights. I mean, we are on the edge right now, and so this election is incredibly important. And then we have to redouble our efforts to be more of a presence in all future elections.
Here's a question. How important do you think the church state issues will be affected by the new Supreme Court justice?
Oh, well, we're already losing church state cases. American Humanist Association had the Bladensburg Cross, which was this immense cross on public land that was owned privately, but then it started falling apart. So the city or the county took over control to try to fix it. And we only had 2 votes on that case, and Ginsburg was one of them, to have the cross removed or put on private property. And it just shows the level of deterioration. And there were 3 other cases regarding ministerial exemptions, funding to religious schools, and the 3rd one doesn't pop up right now. But yeah, we're losing cases, and already, and now with her joining the court, it just becomes even more dire. Ginsburg was a huge loss, and Barrett is not in any way in her shoes to fill that slot. And so it makes the Supreme Court very scary. And of course, the Supreme Court, when it's tilted the wrong way, it lasts for a generation or more. So it's very distressing.
what do you think are the biggest issues right now for those of us who are concerned with separation of church and state? What are the biggest issues?
Right. Well, reproductive rights are key with the next court. We're going to have things about allowing religious institutions. There's an effort to get rid of the Johnson Amendment to allow religious institutions and other nonprofits to be more engaged directly in endorsing candidates. And the problem with that is that we already have these giant super PAC slush funds that make it difficult to trace where the funding comes from. If religious groups get into that, they don't have to do any reporting to the federal government, so they could become yet another huge source of dark money in campaigns. So it reinforces their power if they're able to do that. And of course, that's what they have to do because they recognize that they are losing the demographic battle, and they've got to do everything they can to foster, voter suppression, like you're talking about earlier, or getting more money into the system to support their candidates so that they can hold on to power. And so again, the only way to combat that is to become our community becoming more organized, working with allies to promote our values, and we can defeat them. And I think this year can be the first step in that. We'll see how the election goes.
So any other questions? So here's a quick question. So I know a lot of churches are involved in separation in church and state issues. Has a lot of the atheist or secular organizations been involved with a number of the churches that are interested in that topic?
They're actually the Baptist Joint Committee, I can't remember their entire name, does great work, and they've actually created an alliance against Christian nationalism for more liberal churches. And so there definitely is a pushback from our religious allies against white Christian nationalism. So like I said, there's a lot of allies that we worked with. And Rachel Deitch, who's our lobbyist, works on a whole host of alliances to push various issues. And so, yeah, the network is all there, and folks are working hard at it.
Okay. Does this organization have any affiliate programs or something like that the MFA could join?
We don't. There's a more partisan group out there that we're working with to form sort of state caucuses within a political party. And what we want to model after is the Stonewall Democrats, who have done great work in organizing local groups and state groups across the country, supporting LGBTQ issues and getting more visibility. And so we would like to have more of that happening across the country. So stay tuned. That type of work might be appearing in Tennessee.
Do you have any questions for us?
But I hope you've all voted. If not, like I said, it's just 10 days out there. So be involved. The most important thing is to just increase your involvement. Get to know, at the basic level, get to know who's running, get familiar with candidates, get familiar with your elected officials. There are good people in Tennessee, and I don't know your municipal races, but school boards, city councils are incredibly important. They really affect your day-to-day living, more so even than at the federal level. So get involved with your local elected officials, and again, make them see that you're engaged, what the issues are that are important to you, and be known. It's the best way for us to dispel the lingering bias against us, is just for folks to put faces on the atheist and humanist community, and then all their preconceptions will just fade away once they get to know you.
Okay. So after the pandemic, are there any conventions or other meetings that we should consider being part of that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, you have local and state political parties have events. Please participate in those. Yeah, there's with allied groups, when you see they're having an event, participate with those. And like I said before, if you participate as a block, with friends and like-minded folks, wear your T-shirts, wear the buttons, and they'll think we're a movement. Just takes a few people to impress folks that this is an organized group, and and they're pushing the issues that are in alignment with them, and that you want to help out in their efforts, whether it's reproductive rights, Black Lives Matter. There's a whole host of social justice issues that really are church-state separation issues, because these issues only exist because the religious right is pushing them. I mean, so we can be, a vanguard within these various movements and contribute to their success. So it really is being engaged in your community.
All right. Any other questions for Dr. Millar? All right. Any books or other projects that you want us to know about?
Catherine Stewart just recently put out a book about Christian nationalism, and just really spells out how they're organized, and the resources that they have. So she would be an excellent resource to you. And she's pushing a book. She might even come talk to your group to talk about it. So she's a really good resource.
Any other questions?
No. And of course, we have lots of resources at the Center for Freethought Equality about making your voice heard, organizing your group for elections, and running for office. So think about running for office. Start at the school board, city council. Again, it's a great way to dispel the lingering bias against our community by having a candidate out there who identifies with our community, and push the policy issues that are important to us. And there's over there's 500,000 elected offices out there in the country, from anywhere from local county auditors to school boards to council members, and so see where your skills can be applied. Also, there's non-elected positions on commissions and boards and other things within your community that you could bring your skills to improve your community, and then you get known within the community, and it helps, if you are thinking of running for office, to have that little network that you've created by serving on boards and commissions. But the key thing is boards and commissions, get things done, and change the way your community is run. And so again, making an impact on that is key. I really thank you for having me here to talk with you guys, and feel free to reach out to me, if anything comes up later. Glad to be a resource for you.
And I'll post those links on our Facebook page, and I'll send it out on Meetup. So if members want them, and as a resource. So yeah, they're great resources, and we appreciate that. So hopefully we get more involved in our civic duty, civic value of engagement. But all right, thank you everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Millar.
Okay,
all right.
bye-bye.
All right, have a great day.